This is an RNZ podcast.
Rightio. This is Bruce Hopkins. Welcome to the long way home. Oh, man, that was one ugly little encounter. I just came through from the Bunnythorpe, or the refuse station, and you go off the side of the road, thankfully, but in fact maybe not thankfully, because there's a stream that you walk alongside there, and just very briefly, and my goodness, managed to cross the stream without getting wet, which was wicked. But once you got to the other side of the stream, holy cow, I have never seen blackberry bushes like it. So it was the let me see what that was. That was the Mangaone stream crossing. There's no bridge there. The stream is very shallow and dry weather. Yes, it was. Continue up the other side. After about 150 metres, cross the small Jacks Creek and continue to the Kairanga Bunnythorpe Road, which I can see just up there now. But that took me, hello birdies, a lot longer than it should have, because I went, and this is a classic example of Te Araroa, I went about maybe 20 metres to the south of where I should have been, and that 20 metres got me firmly on the other side of a massive, I've never seen blackberry like it, head height, overhead height blackberry. I tried going through where obviously some other people have been caught out as well, so following a little bit of bent grass kind of indication, and man, those blackberry, they were thick. The stem was so thick. It's a beautiful little call going on up there. Hello. And man, that was rugged, brutal. I haven't come out too bad. I've just got a few scratches on my legs. Managed to smash my way through, do a bit of bush bashing with my hiking poles, and then had to retrace my steps. Just got into a point where there was absolutely no way out, so I had to retrace, and then I managed to find the actual track. That was brutal. Man, I've never seen blackberry like that. Onward, upward, and in some sort of direction anyway. What are we, Saturday, what's the date? Fiona, Anthony? Saturday something, 16th I think, and I turned up to Palmerston North yesterday, had a wicked trip in here from Fielding, met a couple of people, the grandparents raising grandchildren. When I was heading from Fielding, I thought, I've got to book somewhere to stay, I should call up. Fio is listed in the trail notes, and I'd heard about this hut, this couple who have built a dock hut in their backyard. And so they answered the phone, yep, it's available, and I'm here, I'm having the most, this is the classic way that this TA is evolving. I'm just having the most amazing experience. From the moment I arrived here at Fio with Anthony and Fiona rode out to welcome me in and walk me in and everything. So you guys, like you're so embracing this whole Te Araroa gig, but you're a bigger picture as well with tramping and everything. What's the inspiration for you guys to do this?
Well, we've walked Te Araroa into Waipanamu, the South Island, ourselves, and we absolutely loved it. And we love the energy we get from whenever we meet hikers. And so we started inviting people home. And then we realised we should give them the place of their own to stay in. And so we built them a hut.
And you've built it along the lines of the Doc Hut, and you've got all the consent, like they've embraced it, haven't they? Doc, all the organisations.
They came along to the launch. They've given us a hut book. I've made some fake dock signs, and they didn't, seem to lawyer around to get us to take them down or anything. And part of what we're doing is teaching people hut culture before they go into the Tararua range. So, perhaps hikers haven't been through that many huts before. How many huts are there in the North Island before they get to Palmerston North?
Yeah, I don't think have I stayed in a hut? I don't know if I have.
Yeah,
no.
Yeah. And when you're in the Tararua range, you may not even get a chance to stay in a hut because they may be full. So, we're talking to them about hut books and that kind of thing. Yeah.
And we called it Whio Hut because Anthony and I are involved with the Ruahine Whio Protectors, which is a community conservation project. We're protecting whio, which are blue duck in the mountains in the Ruahines. And so we don't feel we should charge people for their accommodation here, but we think if people are inspired by the hut, we encourage them to koha to the Ruahine Whio Protectors.
It's tiring having people in your house and having a big variety of people coming through the house. Tiring in a good way. It's just there's so much energy that they bring to it, and they're also open-minded and open to the world and stuff, and the stories that are coming at you every day start to kind of mix up, we've found. So we've only had 15 through, but keeping track of who they all were and all their stories is just so difficult. Yeah.
And Fiona, you were saying about how people go, it was strangers in your house and everything. Yeah. So tell us about that.
Well, I think I love hikers, I respect them and I trust them. Anybody who wants to come to our country or who lives here and wants to spend 5-6 months walking across it, we should give them respect and we should welcome them. I have no problem with people here. And hikers, well, they carry everything they need on their backs. I don't think they're going to take anything from me and rush off down the road,
Maybe a roll of toilet paper.
Yeah, well, they probably need that, trail rats do exist. But actually, by building a hut, we realised we gave people their own space. And they can use our facilities. We've got spare facilities. That's okay. So and I think it's going to work really nicely. And there will be times when we set our own boundaries, and we have our own quiet room. So
now, stepping out of just the Tauraroa scene. So, what's the state of conservation and nature in New Zealand now, in your opinion?
I'm pretty sceptical about it. I'm worried about it. I think over the past few years, DOC has been run down quite drastically. I love the fact that that we are allowed into our backcountry to do conservation work, and that we've been encouraged to do it as private citizens. But there is so much bad stuff happening.
There's so much work to do. Yeah.
What are the main focuses you think that should be looked at?
There's not enough rangers and scientists within DOC to do everything that could be done to protect the species. We've got hundreds of species that we could easily lose within our lifetime, and there are incredible teams of 1 or 2 people out there looking after entire species, trying to protect them. And so because of that, if individual citizens can do work, that's great, but imagine trying to fight that uphill battle when you know that you and your colleague are the only person to protect a species. Whether it's sea lions, dolphins, the kaki, the black stilt. If you're the only person doing it, what happens to you?
It's illegal to fidget spin and drive, Tom. I have just arrived back in Auckland, and I'm currently in the car driving back to my little hobbit hole, where I'm going to have 10 days back up here for my son Joe and his partner Millie's wedding. They're 2 oldest children, my mokopuna Charlie and Gracie are in the back. Yes, Gracie would like to say something.
Mummy said we're not allowed to have any lollies because her wedding's coming up for no sickness.
Right, so that's good advice. No lollies because the wedding's coming up and everything. And I also have my oldest progeny, my son Tom, back from Australia just for a few days, and because I've come back now a little bit earlier than I had anticipated getting back to Auckland, I get to be with him. Come out to the airport to pick me up, so very, very cool. This is yet another wonderful experience of this journey. Charlie, how was school? How did school finish up? I hear you did a wonderful mihi
Yes.
for the graduation ceremony. Would you like to give us a little bit of your mihi?
No.
Okay, that's clear cut. And Mr. Tom Hopkins, what about you? How's Victoria and the firefighting scene over there?
It's lovely.
Yeah, man of many words. Looks like I'm not going to get a lot of conversation out of this lot. Oh, it's nice to be home. I'll have to talk to myself, as usual, as I do on the trail. I'm back in Auckland. Look at this place. Hasn't changed one bit. All right. Well, I'm so looking forward to hanging out with you guys for the next few days. Yay.
Alright.
Hurrah. All right, walking down the stairs. My stairs, listen to that. Been living here over 8 years now, in this little secluded part of the inner city of Auckland. Rent a little one-beddy flat, and this sound is the Waitemata Harbour lapping in against the little tiny beach surrounded by ancient Pahutakawa, 50-metre beach. 2 minutes walk from my little hobbit hole that I rent. Most glorious spot. I'm back in Tamaki Makaurau, city of sails, for 10 days. This is day 3, and the tide is right. Going off to see the dock very soon, but the tide is right for a swim. Not perfect conditions, there's a bit of a chop in there, but it'll be a nice little introduction back into the briny after all this walking lark. Oh yeah, the swim has been swum. Man, magnificent. That ocean, man, if you live anywhere near the ocean in this blessed land upon which we dwell here in New Zealand, then I think it's kind of like your civic duty, really, to get out and to experience it. If you don't know how to swim, well, bloody well learn how to swim. Teach yourself how to swim. Get someone to teach you how to swim. And teach your kids how to swim. We have I think the 10th longest coastline in the world, and we're a tiny South Pacific Ocean island. So it's a blessing to us, and we should dunk ourselves into that briny every now and then as citizens of this land. It's a duty. Much like I'm discovering that walking in those bloody forests, as much of a slog as it can be, it's a duty. You're honour bound as citizens of this country, if you're physically able, to then go and have some period or periods of time where you are surrounded by that environment. It's here for us. Listen to him. Merry Christmas anyway.
The Long Way Home is produced by Bruce Hopkins and Justin Gregory. That's me. The executive producer is Tim Watkin. The engineer is Jeremy Veal. Subscribe to every episode of The Long Way Home podcast at iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Radio Public, or at radionz.co.nz/series. And while you're there, please rate us. That way more people get to hear these stories. If you go to the Long Way Home webpage at rnz.co.nz, you'll find an interactive map that follows Bruce as he walks to Aotearoa. Bruce is also on Twitter at BruceHop, so get in touch if you've got tips, questions, or can offer him a bed, a meal, or just a hot shower along the way. You can also email him at thelongwayhome@radionz.co.nz. The next episode of The Long Way Home is a bit unusual. Bruce is off the trail for a short break, and so we catch up together in the RNZ studio to chat about how it's all gone so far. It's a bit of a behind-the-scenes episode, if you will. Bruce Hopkins will be back on Te Araroa Trail and taking the long way home again very soon. The Long Way Home. Whenua, whakapapa, whānau. Follow us.